Good afternoon. Welcome to Firm Foundation Media's live stream on a Thursday afternoon. You never know when one is going to pop up, and Thursday afternoon at 2:30 Atlantic seemed like a good one. Scott Squires with you, and without further ado, let's get right to the person that's joining me on the live stream today, Carly Jackson, third overall pick of the NWHL by the Buffalo Beauts. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good to me. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Oh, listen, really glad to have you here. Thanks for coming on. So, what's it been like the last several hours since the big announcement?
Honestly, it's been a big whirlwind. I've just been celebrating with my family. I've been hearing from a lot of friends and a lot of people that I met along my journey. So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty surreal. Sometimes I just kind of remember that it happened and I feel almost shocked again. But it's been incredibly exciting, and I'm just so happy.
Absolutely, and congratulations. I know so many people so happy and so excited for you. I actually did a live stream with some of the alumni from the 2014 Halifax Max Major Midget team that went to the TELUS Cup. And I actually put a graphic up of you talking about you coming on today. And all the guys that were on had really good things to say and all wished you well. So it's been really neat to see the excitement. And before we start talking about time in Amherst, Nova Scotia, and all other things, let me bring this up because this is the big announcement that was made. And the thing is, Carly, you didn't get to there until this happened. And I saw this on Twitter and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. We'll play it and then we'll get your reaction.
Hi, I'm Pat LaFontaine, former NHL third overall pick and big fan of the NWHL. I'm proud today to announce a selection from the Buffalo Beauts and the 2020 NWHL Draft from the University of Maine, goaltender Carly Jackson. Congratulations.
Not even joking. I got goosebumps watching that, and I wasn't even anywhere near being drafted. What was that like? What was going through your mind when you saw and heard that from Hall of Famer Pat LaFontaine?
I just had chills. I think I had the biggest smile on my face. Every time I watched it, I think I get another smile. But I was sitting around the kitchen table with my family, and we just all celebrated, and it was just so cool to see him and hear him say my name. So I was just so excited. We all just started celebrating and yelling, and it was awesome.
Yeah, such a great player with the New York Islanders, their dynasty. He's a Hall of Famer, American-born player. Fitting that he would be the one to announce it. You mentioned sitting around the table with your family. You're going to be playing in New York with Buffalo, but where are you right now?
I'm in Amherst, Nova Scotia. I was at the University of Maine. I just graduated, finishing up online classes, and now I'm home with my family just to sit out this quarantine.
And being in Nova Scotia myself, I'm based in Truro, but I learned a long time ago, Carly, and you'd know this well, being from there, you don't pronounce the H right. It's Amherst.
Yeah, exactly.
Nailed it?
Yeah, you did.
Let's go back because you're a multi-sport athlete. Yes, hockey is your big concentration now for obvious reasons, but you've got a pretty high level of baseball experience as well. Maybe just take us back to when you were a kid and how you got involved with the two main sports in your life, hockey and baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, baseball was my number one sport for a really long time, probably until I was 15 or 16. But I started, I think, when I was 4 or 5, and then I didn't start hockey until I was 9. But arguably, I actually played a higher level of baseball growing up than I ever did hockey. For baseball, I ended up making a couple AAA teams, and hockey, I always played A or AA with the boys. And then I became of an age where I was starting to consider colleges, and I knew that I could take hockey a little bit further than baseball. But even throughout my college career, I continued to play competitively with the boys and the girls in baseball. Last year was my first season, actually, that I didn't play baseball because I was working as an athletic trainer in the Cape Cod Baseball League. So I was pretty busy down there with those guys, taking care of them. I wasn't able to play, and I was hoping to play this summer now that I'm home, but hopefully something works out, but we'll see how it goes.
Baseball, hockey, does one help you with the other? And if so, what part of hockey helps you with baseball or vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sports complement each other extremely well, especially in terms of just the season structure. It's like as soon as hockey's over, I was able to jump into baseball and kind of get a break from the ice and just do something that's completely different. I mean, the dynamics of the sport are very different, where hockey is, I'm a goaltender, so, I'm kind of isolated in my position. It's a much more focused game for 60 minutes compared to baseball, where, if I'm playing third base or shortstop, things are more of a flow, more of a rhythm over the course of 2 or 3 hours. So just having those skills from both, like hand-eye coordination when you're up to the plate, to catching a puck in the air when someone takes a slap shot from, 15, 20 feet out, like it's, I think those things help each other in terms of physical skill, but also the mental aspect too. I find baseball is kind of a relaxation game compared to hockey, where it's pretty intense. So both have been really nice for me, and I'm really happy that I was able to play both at an elite level.
And it must have been pretty interesting sharing what happened getting drafted with your twin. Tell me about your twin sister and what that whole dynamic is like, because I actually have first cousins who are twins, and it's sometimes strange how they connect with one another. But tell me a little bit about your twin sister and playing sports with her.
Jenna, yeah. So we actually we're not actually blood related, but we grew
Yeah.
up playing baseball, and so we met when we were, I think, 12 or 13, and then we started playing baseball together when we were 14, and we've been inseparable ever since. So she's a catcher, and I'm a pitcher, so we would train together all the time, and we'd always play together, and we've been on, I think, a team together every single summer. So her and I have a pretty deep connection, and we always have a lot of laughs.
Yeah, because I know that you refer to each other as the twins, and
Mm-hmm.
basically the Wonder Twin powers. What was that moment like when you were able to share the draft and her knowing that you had reached that dream of getting drafted into play pro hockey?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. We have a group chat with her and a couple other players, and a former coach, and we like to joke around about stuff. But the first thing they said was, the next road trip, we're going to Buffalo, guys. So I can't wait to see him there.
Really cool. Now it's funny how sometimes things can foreshadow what might happen down the road. Back in, I believe it was 2015, you were playing U18 Women's Championship for Team Canada, and you won a silver medal. But that's not the biggest news, really. Where were you playing that tournament, Curly?
So when I played in the Worlds in 2015 with Team Canada, we played in Buffalo. So it's pretty surreal to be headed back there 5 years later. But at the time, and when I was playing with Team Canada, we had an afternoon where we got to relax and spend time with her family. So me and my family went for a drive, and we actually ended up in Amherst, New York, and that's where the Beauts are based out of now. So it's pretty cool to be heading back there 5 years later, and I'm excited to get back to Buffalo.
That is so cool. Who knew, right? Back then that you were winning a silver medal at the Worlds, somewhere that you would eventually play professional hockey. That's really neat. Tell me about your time at the University of Maine, because the Black Bears have got a great hockey program there. Tell me about how you ended up going to the University of Maine, and what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I started thinking about colleges when I was about 15, 16 years old. But a friend of mine, someone I trained with for many years, and I still look to, is David Alexander. He's now a coach with the St. Louis Blues, a goalie coach. But at the time, him and I trained a lot together, and he helped me so much in their program with Alexander goaltending. But he, at that time, was working at the University of Maine as a volunteer goaltending coach. So I saw that he was going there, and I thought Dave was brilliant. And I was like, oh man, this guy's at Maine. They must have something good going on down there. So when I heard from Ricky and Sarah and the Black Bears, I already had an immediate draw to them. So when I went through the recruiting process with them and other schools, once I got to Maine, I was like, no, this is it. This is it for me. I think they were the first school I actually saw. And I got in the car with my parents, and I said, I'm going to Maine. I wish I could start tomorrow. I was like, relax. You have a couple more schools you need to see. Like, chill out. Don't have to make any decisions yet. And I said, nope, I'm going to be a Black Bear. That's it.
Well, you certainly had a fine number of years playing for the University of Maine for the Black Bears. You actually were kind enough to send me a couple of video clips. We'll play this one now. I love the slow motion replay on this one, because you really get to see how you went cross crease and covered up that post. But let's take a look at it here.
Breakaway from Balinska, so she got behind the main D. Jackson with the outside of her glove on the initial save. But then look at how Balinskis grabs the rebound and very quickly tries to poke it inside that near goal post. And I think Jackson got the left leg out, Cole, and just kicked.
You did indeed get the left leg out. I know that there must be so many moments from your time at the University of Maine stick out with you. Knowing that you're moving on now, when you see video highlights like that, what goes through your mind? What kind of feelings does it give you?
Honestly, I miss it. I miss it a lot. I miss being on the ice. It's fun to watch some older clips and some stuff that is pretty recent and even some older stuff, but it just makes me miss being on the ice. And that being said, now that with this news, it makes me excited to get back on the ice. I can't wait to hopefully have some more highlights and just feel what it's like to be out there.
Let's take a look at some more of your work, Carly.
Great feed across right to Mueller, and Jackson just slides right across and gets that pad out. So much agility and ability to move the puck or save the puck down low, and kicks the save right actually in.
You got some quick feet there, Carly. Almost like a Marc-Andre Fleury in net there, one of the quickest guys I've ever seen from the waist down. Both of those clips, you have that ability, and the commentator mentioned it there, agility to go post to post, side to side. For you, what would you say is the strongest part of your game?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just having composure. I worked a lot with my goalie coach, Trey at Maine, and a big thing is just knowing when I should be out of my crease compared to not, because I'm only 5'5", so considerably I'm a pretty small goaltender. But my ability and my skating ability has allowed me to look bigger than I actually am by playing out when I need to, and then having the skill to move side to side allows me to get back if I need to, just like on those two plays actually.
And talk to me a little bit about the women's game. What does it mean to you to have the ability to go on to the next level and play professionally? Because that wasn't always the case, but now it is, and it's so great to be able to see players be able to move on from whether it's the collegiate level or junior to the pro levels. What does that mean to you? And tell me a little bit about where you think the women's game is.
I think it means everything for women's hockey and young women and really any young athletes looking to get to the next level. I know when I was a kid, there was no women's professional league, and it was very unclear about what that elite level was and how to get there and what that would look like. But now young women get to see these older women living their dreams, right? They're getting paid to play a sport that they love. So really the exposure and inspiring young kids and young athletes and showing them that it is possible, no matter where you're from, that you can play a sport that you love.
Obviously, going to the University of Maine and playing for the Black Bears, hockey was a big part of your life. But when you're at a university, you're a student athlete. Mm-hmm. What were you doing at the University of Maine? What was your main focus of study?
So I have 1 week left now, so I have a couple of exams, but I'll be graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training. So that's typically called athletic therapy in Canada. But essentially that means that I was a medical provider for other Division I athletes on campus. So that's where the majority of my clinical hours went into is providing like rehabilitation, injury prevention techniques and manual therapies, things like that for other athletes on campus. So for me, it was fortunate. I was able to meet a lot of people and work with a lot of other people who are very similar to me on campus. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
What a week it is for you. You got a week left at university. This week you got drafted by the Buffalo Beauts. When you look back at when you started at the University of Maine, I'll ask you two separate questions here about how you've changed, how you've evolved, how you've grown, gotten better, whatever the case may be. Let's look at it first of all, just from a personal standpoint, from your growth personally. What's one big difference that you see in yourself today compared to when you started out at the University of Maine as a freshman in terms of your personal life and just you?
The first thing that pops in my head is just confidence. I was fortunate enough that Ricky and Sarah, they offered me the ability to redshirt my first year. So I had 5 years at the University of Maine. My first year, I redshirted, so I couldn't play in games, but I was able to practice and lift and do literally everything else. And then I competed my last 4 years. So that first redshirt year for me was huge. Like it was difficult not to play in games, but I really needed that in terms of personal growth and personal development. It allowed me to kind of have some space to not only just adjust to college as a regular student, but adjust as a student athlete, and then two, adjust to the women's game as well. So I was very fortunate that I got to have that. But the difference in my confidence in my personal life and in my game is unbelievable, the changes that it's been. And I credit that a lot to Ricky and Sarah and the mindset and kind of the passion and love for growth and love for learning that they implement at Maine. And one thing they kind of always said is like, it's okay to make mistakes. Like you should be making mistakes. You just learn from it and you keep going and you keep going and you keep working.
And obviously, confidence, you mentioned it yourself, would have been a big improvement in your game as well. But maybe from a technical side of goaltending, because it is such a technical part of the game, whether it's playing angles, whether you come out, whether you play deep, going side to side. For you, what's the biggest improvement in your technical side of your goaltending ability from a freshman to where you are now?
Yeah, actually, a big thing for me is my depth. When I first got to Maine, I was a very reactive goalie. Like I review some clips sometimes from freshman sophomore year, and I pretty much played on the goal line. So I was very much relying on just athletic ability and reactionary ability. I made some big changes my junior year. I started working on coming out of the net more, knowing when I can come out, when I can use my size, when not to, when to rely on my feet, when not to, and really just working on my ability to stay up and stay big.
Who would be a couple of goaltenders in today's current game, women's game, men's game, that you either pattern yourself after or that you like to watch footage of to kind of pick up tips?
I really like two specific goaltenders is Carey Price, Montreal Canadiens. I think he is so calm, so composed, and he is just astounding. I love the way he holds himself off the ice, on the ice. I think he does quite an incredible job. And then the second goalie that I was actually fortunate enough to train with a few times over the years is Jake Allen. He plays for the St. Louis Blues, and just seeing him train and be able to work with him, I learned a lot about work ethic and what it takes to get to the next level, and just how to hold yourself when you're working hard.
And you mentioned Jake Allen played for the St. Louis Blues. That's a nice segue to ask you about your time playing for the Cumberland Blues in the Nova Scotia Junior Hockey League, not too far from where you live in Amherst. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was amazing. So I played for the Blues in the 2014-2015 season. So I think I was 17 at the time, but it was just amazing. I loved it. It was junior hockey, and it was pretty special. I had 20 brothers on my team, and they were always looking out for me, and I can't say enough about how respectful everyone was to me. I think that year I also went to the World Championships, and I think as soon as I got back, we were playing in Liverpool. And we went down there, and a couple people from the organization down there approached me and said, "Hey, do you mind if we do a little announcement before the game, just to celebrate your success?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, absolutely, thank you, that's so kind." And so what they did is we did warm-ups and everything, and then as we came onto the ice for the game, I had to sit back. Everybody went on the ice, and then they personally announced me as I skated into the net, and I actually got a standing ovation in an away team's rink. It was incredible, and just players throughout the league, and there's another team, the Valley Maple Leafs. They were also super respectful of me, and I can't say enough about the respect from other players, and it was pretty incredible. And I just had a blast playing for the Blues.
More goosebumps again. First, Pat LaFontaine did it to me, and now you just did. Tell me a couple of, because you again going back over your baseball and hockey career. The being drafted third overall aside, because you know how big that was, but what are a couple of moments that stick out to you as meaningful?
The first one that popped in my head actually was in, I think it was 2014 or 2013. It must have been 2014. I was out shopping with my mom actually for school supplies, and my dad was calling us, but we couldn't get a hold of him. And at the time, I was waiting on a call to see if I had made Team Atlantic, who was going to the Nationals. And this would have been my first Nationals as a hockey player. So we were waiting for this call. And I wasn't getting anything. So I was like, oh, I must not have made the team. And I was disappointed. And I was spending time with my mom. So I'm like, okay, it's okay. I get home that night, and I get back, and we're sitting on the couches. And my dad was like, oh, I got to run upstairs. He runs upstairs, and he comes down with my brother, and he's got this big paper sign, and it says, "Carly's going to Calgary." And we all just started cheering and whooping and hugging, and it was just really special. And it was nice to have my parents and my brother there, and it's something I'll never forget.
Wow, that's a really cool moment indeed. And obviously, your family has been a huge part of your success and a support system for you, like it is for so many athletes, especially student athletes. But when you look back over your sports career to this point, baseball and hockey both, who are a couple of people that stick out to you and that you've thought of the last couple of days that come to mind that have really been supportive of you or gave you that, kind of pat on the back when you needed it or whatever? But who are some of those people that you're thinking of?
Honestly, the first one is my dad. He and I drove so many hours, so many miles, and a little Toyota Matrix around really just the whole Maritimes. We have countless hours together. He would just drive me to any rink if I wanted to go play hockey. So I'm forever grateful for him. And I always love seeing him up in the stands now. It's a little bit further to the rink, but I can't say enough great things about him and how supportive he's been.
Yeah, that's amazing. You hear it all the time from athletes, just how important the parents are. And Carly, I'm going to put a couple of pictures up that you again. Thank you very much for sending them to me. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, so many pictures would have been taken of you, but if you know when the game was or what it was, you can let me know. But just kind of, I'll put them up and talk over them and just let me know kind of the emotions that are going through you as I put these pictures up.
Sure, yeah. So this one, I think this was the game against Northeastern, the semifinals. So this was the Hockey East semifinals, and we're playing against Northeastern. I think they're number 3 or 4 in the country at this point. We knew that we had to pull out an upset, but our team's playing good. I actually think at this moment we're winning 1-0.
All right, let me pop up another one here.
This was that same game. This is actually, I think it's a picture of the clip you showed earlier from the shot of Elena Mueller. So she played for Northeastern, and this was in that semifinal game, and we're up 1-0 at this point. And Elena Mueller, who's she's up for a nomination for Patty Kazmaier, which is the top 3 players in the country. So she gets a one-timer from the high slot, and I luckily got a pad on it. But that picture is pretty special for sure.
Yeah, that's a great shot. You see the puck in the pad right there. And I'm getting to see a theme with you, Carly. I really think that you're very strong post to post and covering the post.
Yeah, I think this is also that same game as well. Yeah, it's part of my game that I've always worked on. I've had a lot of coaches just give me different tips on the importance of just staying strong, staying confident, and not letting anybody push you around.
And the last one I'll put up, it's kind of the background image that you see in behind us right now. But I love this shot because one thing I always find about goalies is being able to look into their eyes and kind of get that very intense stare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this this was funny. I think at this moment I just caught him taking a picture of me, and then right after I gave him a wink, and he got a nice shot of that one too.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Carly, like so many of us, you're in this self-isolation. You're not able to travel right now because of the restrictions between Canada and the U.S. I know that everything is very fresh right now with getting drafted by the Buffalo Beauts, but what have the Beauts organization said to you about what next steps are, and what are next steps for you in terms of training, staying in shape, and staying hockey sharp? Because especially for a goaltender, you got to maintain that edge. So kind of what are the next steps for you with the Beauts and just you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So my plan is I'm going to show up at training camp, and up until then, I mean, I just got to get to work here with what I have. So it's going to be a little bit creative in terms of training tools, but unfortunately there is no ice, but you got to do with what you have. So I've actually already started training a couple weeks ago, but one of the big things I'm working on this summer is my puck handling ability. I think that can be an intangible for a goaltender and intangible for a team. So something I do every day is I just shoot 100 pucks. I do different kind of stick handling patterns and things like that, but I just want to get comfortable or more comfortable with handling the puck. So there's that, and then I just got to keep up with my workouts and try to be as sharp as I can. So when I arrive to camp, that I'm ready to go and ready to help that team win a championship.
And one thing you hear pundits and analysts and everybody else do all the time with goaltenders is talk about what style goaltender they are, what style they came up with, who they're patterning themselves after. If you had to describe your style of goaltending to someone who's never seen you play, what style of goalie is Carly Jackson?
I would say a mixture of Jake Allen, and I'd like to think a little bit of Jonathan Quick when I get in desperation mode.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's a good mix right there, Jake Allen and Jonathan Quick. Carly, listen, I can't thank you enough for hanging out, spending time, talking to the fans. Oh, and speaking of fans, I should put this one comment up. This is how a lot of people feel from Dwayne Tingley, who was watching on Facebook Live. You see there, Carly's a great ambassador to the Maritimes, all the best. When you see stuff like that, and I know there's been so many people reaching out to you, I'm sure personally with your phone and texting, but also via social media, Instagram, Twitter, what does all this mean to you? How does it make you feel?
Honestly, it means the world to me. I've had just so many friends from throughout the years, and people that I've met and gotten to work with, and teammates, and just hearing from everybody has just been so touching. I think I just finished getting back to most people yesterday, but it's amazing. I love seeing stuff like that, and there's just so many people who have supported me throughout the years. So I hope that they can celebrate in this too. So it's the best. It really is the best.
And I'll leave the last word to you before I wrap it up. What do you want the fans of Buffalo and the Buffalo Beauts to know about what they're getting with Carly Jackson, the person and the goalie?
Oh, I can't wait to get to Buffalo. I'm excited to come over to Buffalo and show you guys what I can do, and can't wait to lift that championship in the Isabel Cup in Buffalo. So I'm excited to get out there and to meet everybody, and can't wait to get to work.
Well, I know that the fans are excited to meet you as well. I know the Beauts are glad to have you, and the University of Maine extremely proud of you making it into the NWHL, as well as all of us are here in Atlantic Canada, and certainly Nova Scotia and Amherst. So again, Carly, congratulations. Thanks for doing this. Let's keep in touch, and we wish you all the best. And the last thing I can say to you is wash your hands and stay safe, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott.
Been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Carly. You take care and be well.
You too.
Carly Jackson, 3rd overall pick in the NWHL, going to the Buffalo Beauts. She's played her university hockey at the University of Maine. She played for the Cumberland Blues. She's from Amherst, Nova Scotia. She's played baseball. She's played Team Canada. She's gone to World Championships. My goodness, Carly Jackson, your parents should be proud, and we all are very proud of you. Big thanks to Carly for joining us, and a big thank you to you for tuning in, whether it was live or you're watching this on the replay. Can't thank you enough for hanging out right here. Firm Foundation Media live stream. I'm doing these all the time. Check me out on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Periscope, Firm Foundation Media, and I'm Scott Squires. Wash your hands, be safe. Bye for now.